You are listening to the On Purpose Podcast, your guide to living a more purposeful life. The Tactical Harmony Podcast is hosted by Rebecca Fitzsimmons, a former NCIS special agent turned holistic leadership coach and mindset strategist. Drawing on nearly 20 years of experience empowering high-achieving professionals to break barriers and lead with purpose, Rebecca shares tried and true strategies and actionable insights to help you excel in today's fast-paced world. If you're ready to lead with impact and create harmony in the chaos, the Tactical Harmony Podcast is for you. Available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, or check it out at tacticalharmony.com or in the show notes below. What's up, everybody? Welcome to this week's edition of the On Purpose Podcast, where you know it's always our pleasure to be with you, to share stories that inspire you, move you, hold you accountable a little bit, maybe get you thinking a little different, but ultimately help us make the world a little better place, right? That's our mission here, is we just want to make the world a little better place, and whether it's through one story, one idea, one conversation, one greeting, we have the power. We have the ability to do just that. So I want to thank you for being part of our community, and can't tell you how excited I am for where things are going with the On Purpose Podcast because of you, because of your support, your continued listenership, your subscribing, your liking, your sharing, you're letting other people know, hey, check out what this family's doing, check out what this community's doing as we continue to plug away at making the world better, one Thursday at a time, each and every week. So thank you so much for that. And this week, I want to talk about becoming the buffalo. Becoming the buffalo. What does that mean to us? And really what it means, when I started thinking about it, is the task I wanted to have, the challenge I wanted to offer, was what would today look like if we all woke up and decided, I'm going to attack everything, all my problems, all the obstacles, all the things that just throw my day off of what I thought I was going to do. I'm going to approach all of those with courage. I'm going to be courageous in my approach to today. What would that look like? What would our problems look like? What would our conversations entail? If we approach conversations with our friends, with strangers, with courage, how deep would those conversations be? What would we learn? What about this? What would our self-talk look like if it was courageous? And it told you what you could do, what was possible, to stick with it, you're on the right course. What would we accomplish by facing everything with courage today? And when I was coming up with the idea of the episode and reflecting on it, I wanted to make sure we understood that courage isn't the absence of fear, right? Being courageous doesn't mean I'm not afraid of stuff. It doesn't mean I'm not scared of things. It doesn't mean that I'm not worried about the outcome and I'm not sure if I'm going to be good at something. No, courage is the ability to step past your fear and face them head on, to move into the uncomfortable situation, to move into the unknown with belief that you can get through it, right? Courage is belief, determination, grit, if you will. We have physical courage, we have mental courage, we have social courage. But all of it doesn't require us to be fearless. It just requires us to lean into our fears. And as I was getting ready for this, the image in my mind that I'll make sure I share with you all was that picture of that buffalo that's looking into that winter storm. And he has all the snow and the ice hanging off his face. It looks cold as hell. But you look in his eyes and they're not wavering. He's staring down that storm. He's going to stand his ground. And I thought, man, what if we became buffalo? Right? Because what's the difference between buffalo and cattle? Right? Cattle see a storm coming. They try to outrun storms. They try to turn their back to the storm. Which in many times you watch these big, massive blizzards that come across the Midwest, these giant snowfalls. We have enormous losses of life for cattle as they try to outrun the storms. Right? The odds in your favor aren't in your favor to outrun a storm. So if you turn and run away from that storm coming at you, one, it's probably going to catch you. 2, when it does catch you, you're exhausted because you've been running from it. And 3, you're on unfamiliar ground to fight back. You don't know the terrain anymore. The storm now dictates when you face it. The storm now dictates the time of the encounter, the conditions of the encounter, because all you did was turn and you ran away from the storm. And while you're running, what are you hoping for? What do you think the cows are hoping for? They're most likely hoping the storm breaks up, that takes another path, that it doesn't catch them. But there's nothing they're doing that's in control of the terms of when they face the storm. But now you see a buffalo. A buffalo sees that same storm coming. And you know what? The buffalo says, all right, I see you, storm. I see you heading my way. You know what we're going to do? We're going to stand our ground. We're going to turn and face you. We're going to look into the storm. Because now, at least the buffalo and the herd is at full strength because they haven't exhausted themselves running. They haven't emotionally exhausted themselves trying to flee something with negative energy. Now they're on their terms. At full strength, they turn and face the storm on ground they choose. Together as a herd, not stretched out running away, but unified to keep each other warm, to protect the weak and the old, the young. They're together, they're safe. And the storm comes and it hits them. But their survival rate is much greater because of how they chose to face the storm. The results of the storm are much less significant on a herd of buffalo than it is on a herd of cattle, simply because of the decision they made when the storm was coming. So what can we learn from the buffalo? Well, I'd ask you this. What are the storms in your life? What is that storm that maybe we've been running from? That storm we've seen out there that we've just not turned into yet, that we haven't had that conversation. We haven't made that new decision in our life that puts us in a new place. What about the storm that's happened long ago and has been past, but we still carry it around with us? You see, unlike the storms in our weather, a lot of times our personal stories will never go away without us having the courage of facing them. Sometimes they're going to live with us for days, weeks, years, maybe even our entire life if we never find the courage to face that storm. If we don't decide to have that conversation, to forgive. Maybe that's the storm we're facing. Maybe we got to forgive somebody for something they've done to us. Maybe we got to forgive a wrong that had happened in our past. Maybe we got to forgive ourselves for mistakes we've made and quit carrying them around with us years after the moment's gone by. So let's this week decide to be the buffalo, to live life with courage, to face our storms head on, to have the difficult conversations, to forgive where appropriate, to make sure that our self-talk is uplifting, fulfilling, and allows us to move forward so we don't continue to carry the weight around of past storms, and worse yet, pass that weight on to the next generation who didn't even face the storm, but carries the emotional toll of its impact. See, we've been in Florida all winter, and one of the things I find amazing down here is the resilience of the people to rebuild after hurricanes come through, knowing they're still in a hurricane zone, that another one's probably coming in the next few years, yet they rebuild anyhow because it's part of what they do. They face it because they love living here. They love being part of it. And part of being in this area is that is a storm you will face. As I see that, I reflect. I'm like, man, that's such a metaphor for life. Storms are going to come our way. Bad things are going to happen. Decisions we don't like are going to take place. Circumstances beyond our control that impact us is going to happen. Yet, we can still have the courage to face them on our terms, to accept what we can change, to accept what we cannot change, but not to carry around a burden because we didn't face it. So let's decide this week's as individuals and our community that now is the time to face our storms. Now is the time to live with courage. And today is the day to become the buffalo. Have a great week, everybody. And remember, team, life is far too short to live any other way than on purpose. We will see you all again next week.